Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Gabert, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. Today's guest has lived one of the most fascinating careers imaginable. He has served in the Israeli Air Force. He has earned engineering degrees from MIT, an MBA from Harvard. He has built and taken 2 technology companies public as CEO. He became a clinical psychologist and executive coach and pioneered one of the first academically recognized models of spiritual intelligence. Dr. Yosi Amram believes something that's both simple and surprisingly radical. We cannot truly inspire others until we are inspired ourselves. And today we are exploring what spiritual intelligence actually is without the cliches or religious baggage, how it affects leadership, entrepreneurship, relationships, and perhaps most importantly, how ambitious people can build meaningful success without becoming disconnected from themselves. Welcome, Yosi, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you for that beautiful summary of my life. I'm like, okay, if I could only had watched it ahead of time and known that's where I'm going to end up, that would have been saved me a lot of heartache. But it doesn't work that way.
Well, it does sound super inspiring, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about it. And as you said, we cannot inspire others unless we are inspired ourselves. So what makes you think that? And can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So, I'd like to say that leadership is first and foremost an inside job. Same way you can't inspire others unless you're inspired yourself. You can't lead others until and when you can lead yourself. So when you are inspired, you're energized, you're connected to the source of life. And when you think about what leadership is, one of my first Harvard Business School cases many years ago was about managers and leaders. Are they the same or different? And managers manage resources, make decisions on how to allocate them and so on. Obviously very important. But what do leaders do? Leaders do is inspire. And what is inspire? The root of inspire comes from the word spirit. And spirit in Latin is the animating breath of life. So what leaders do is they breathe life into their organization, their vitality, their cohesion by having a vision and a sense of purpose that calls them forward, that calls them to bring that about. And then other people that line up with that vision or find that compelling or that purpose want to participate, want to form a community with shared values and a vision of the future that everybody is aligned behind. So until when the leader is really clear about the vision of the world they're wanting to manifest, and it comes from within, deep within themselves, so they are internally aligned behind that vision and that purpose, then they're divided. They're not so clear where they're going. And if we're not clear as leaders where we're going, and we have that inner division and different parts of us are pulling in different directions, we are plagued with those inner doubts, then nobody else is gonna wanna follow us and join. And so, and when there isn't that cohesion internally, and there isn't that cohesion in the group and the team of people and organization around us, then there's a lot of wasted energy, a lot of conflict, a lot of back and forth that works at cross purposes. So So, we have to be inspired. We have to be connected to our essence, our life force, and then know what our unique skills, talents, and superpowers and how we want to express them through our work in the world. And that gives us the alignment, that gives us the power, and then that draws people to us. And then everybody is feeling part of a community with a shared purpose, which makes it very powerful.
Well, I agree that for a leader, purpose and vision is probably like the first thing that they need to have in order to become a good leader. But then it also feels like if they cannot communicate the vision or the values that they stand for, that's a big problem. So how important is communication in this whole thing?
Well, it's clearly important because, we have to articulate that vision. If we can't articulate it and it's just in our own mind, then we can sleep on it. But that's nice. We might have nice dreams, but to make those dreams a reality, to bring people along the journey. I mean, if we're just, working as a sole person on our work, then that's one thing. But the minute we're trying to do something of significance and building a business that requires other people, then we need them to understand what that vision is so that they can be empowered to use their skills and their talents to support that mission. And if they don't understand what we're trying to build together, then what they'll do will be misaligned. And then, the articulation is a key piece of it. But to articulate it in a way that's digestible, that's compelling to others, we have to be empathic. We need to be attuned to where that person is coming from. So as an entrepreneur, I have a vision, but when I'm talking to my engineering team, I'm going to be focusing more on the technical aspects and why it's innovative from a technological standpoint. I need to relate to my audience. And if I'm talking to the sales and marketing team, I have to talk to them. If I'm talking to my customers, I have to put myself in their shoes and understand the problems that they're grappling with so that my vision addresses their concerns. And when I'm talking to my investors and I'm raising money, I have to understand, they're thinking ROI and they're thinking return on investment and they're thinking cash flow and EBITDA and, all the things that. So anytime I'm trying to connect with and lead people and sign them up to that mission or that vision, I have to relate to them. I have to articulate what we're trying to do in a language that relates to them, that relates to their concerns in the world. So the reason I'm emphasizing that is a key part of our emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence is to connect with other people at a deep way. And then that builds trust. And then they feel, we understand them and we are there to help them. It's not just my narcissistic desire to get rich or my egoic desire, which demotivates people. So we have to make it a win-win where we make each individual feel like, we are connecting to them. We are seeing them as a unique expression of life. And we want to make this venture appealing to them, not just in terms of salary and bonus, but in terms of their actualization and the qualities they're going to express in their work and how they're going to connect with the community so that there's a sense of belonging and shared purpose, which is so important in today's age where there's so much of a loneliness epidemic and people feel isolated and lonely despite all the technology that says we're supposed to be connected all the time. We have Slack messages, we have text messages, emails, social media, and that fragments us. So developing that presence, so when we are interacting with someone, they feel our presence, they feel our focus, we're giving them our attention. So like right now, I get a sense you're giving me your full attention and that draws me out. And then I see you smiling and nodding. So it's giving me the clues that, okay, we're connected and my message is landing and that energizes me. And hopefully it lands more effectively. If you started to look at your phone and, whatever, and checked your things, or I was starting to think about, oh, what am I doing after this thing with Claudia? What am I going to do there? I'm going to be so effective. So I'm just talking about the communication and the qualities from a spiritual intelligence standpoint that make us more effective. It has to do with presence, has to do with empathy, has to do with managing our attention, being mindful, being in the moment, being connected to ourselves so we know what's happening. And I talk about it with my clients as 50-50. 50% of my awareness in this moment is actually with myself. I'm feeling my feet on the ground. I'm feeling my breath. I'm feeling my heartbeat, my life force energy. Well, I'm also tracking you. And so I'm connected, interconnected, and interconnected. Because for a real connection, if you have a rope between two people, it could be in a business setting or in a romantic partnership. If the rope is not connected at one pole, it can't be connected at the other. There's no real connection. So we have to be connected to ourselves, interconnected, and then interconnected. And then, if we're really, spiritual, etc., maybe we can feel connected to some transcendent dimension, which is bigger than us, and life in general. But that's kind of can sound more woo-woo to people. So I'm just gonna drop it for now.
Okay, so what I hear you say is that there's no one-size-fits-all template for communication, and we really have to find the one thing that connects us to whomever we are talking to find that connection, and then, take it from there, right?
Yeah, and a key piece of that is listening. Yeah. So, we think about communication as we're obviously thinking about, what words come out of our mouth. But as you point out, we have to figure out who we're speaking to and relate what we want to say in a way that makes sense or is compelling to them. And that means being open and receptive to listen. So a lot of communication is actually being a good listener. And in sales, the best salespeople that are doing solution selling, understand the importance of listening and listening to the customer and what their requirements are so that we can present what it is that we're offering in a way that addresses their pain points.
Makes sense for sure. Now, what percentage of leaders do you think are actually leading from a place of inspiration, if you had to guess?
Oh my God, I don't know. I think we're all at some level so I don't think of it so much as a binary. We either have it or don't have it, or either we are spiritually intelligent or we're not spiritually intelligent, or we're emotionally intelligent or we're not. I think of it as a spectrum, as a continuum. We all have some qualities of spiritually intelligent leadership that are more developed and some that are less developed. What I can say is I know there was a study by Bain & Company, one of the top management consulting companies in the world that works with global 1,000 companies, and they surveyed 2,000 companies and employees. And what they found is that employees that are inspired are twice as productive as employees that are just going about doing their job to earn a paycheck. And then they looked at what were the qualities that had people inspired, and that it had to do with these qualities we just talked about, that the leader had a sense of purpose, they had a presence, they were centered, they were good listeners, they were compassionate, people could trust them, they had a sense of integrity. So, which are actually all the qualities that came through in my research on what makes for spiritual intelligence and what makes for spiritually intelligent leadership. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have an answer what percentage are really inspired or leading from a place of inspiration. I think it's a continuum. But when people are fully empowered, inspired, we could feel it in the quality of their aliveness and their enthusiasm and their passion. And when they have that passion, they have that fire burning, they have that radiance that comes through, then people are drawn. And so.
Okay, so you don't want to be a pessimist, but you also don't want to be an optimist and guess. You're leaving this open.
Yeah, I think each person knows. We know in the morning when we get out of bed, are we inspired in our lives or not? And the thing is, it's more so a key part of leadership and being inspired is being inner directed. And I ask sometimes my clients, do you want to be an inspired leader or an inspiring leader? And they say, oh, what's the difference? So to discern if I'm an inspiring leader, I have to look outside. Are people inspired by me? Which immediately I'm giving away my power. Now, the discernment or the determination if I'm an inspiring leader is really depends on other people, whether they find me inspiring or not. But to be inspired is something that comes from within, and then I feel it. And so I think, of course, we want both ultimately, but we can't put the cart before the horse. The cause is being inspired, and then that gives other people the chance to be inspired, to find us inspiring. So, I think each person, each leader can tune into themselves and say, oh, am I feeling inspired by what I'm doing? Am I inspired about my business? What's the meaning behind it? Why is this important to me? How does this relate to my values? How's the vision and purpose of this business has personal significance and meaning to me? Because that's gonna fuel that fire of inspiration and passion. And so I think it's less interesting. And our normal egoic mind likes to compare ourselves to other. Where am I in the percentile of people? I'm in the top 1%, I'm in the top 7%, I'm in the bottom 25%, whatever. But that doesn't really help us so much. It's just more like, okay, can I connect with the source of passion and inspiration and the vision, and what happens when I connect to it? And when I connect to that, wherever it is in me, then that energy, that aliveness grows. So to me, it's more like, how do I fan the flames of that fire?
I mean, this is something that I find really interesting, because how can someone tell the difference between being genuinely inspired or just super ambitious and simply highly driven? Because there is a difference, right?
There is a difference, and it's subtle. It is subtle. Yeah. Wow. How do we discern it? Well, I mean, the two are, sometimes we're inspired by our egoic ambition, so to speak. We visualize ourselves having, whatever, $1 million, €1 million, 10 million, whatever. And then, that vision motivates us. But if that's all it is, I think at some point, it wears thin and wears out. I think a deeper level of inspiration comes when it's not just about the amount of money that we make or whatever, but it's a vision of a world that we want to see, that we can relate to our clients, that the pain point we're trying to solve in the world is a pain point that we've experienced, or someone near and dear to us in our family or loved ones has experienced. And when you hear stories like that of entrepreneurs, you feel the genuineness of it. And that's when they're most empathic and most passionate. It's not just about, I want to make more money, or I just want to run my own show because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that's fine. That's always there at some level. But then, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but which of the many businesses I can start am I going to be most passionate about? And for each person, it's something different. And do I want to, start a business that sells cigarettes? And, it can be addictive and it could be a great business financially. But how am I going to feel within myself knowing that it's not helping the people that are doing it? But what's a problem that I feel like, oh, I'm going to contribute to society, the world, a better world. And then if I'm really motivated by that, when difficulty strikes, and then we have a deeper inner motivation to do it. We're not just doing it because we want more comfort and more ease for ourselves. We have a greater calling that's pulling us, and a future that's asking to be born through us. And when we feel like, okay, the future is really calling on me, and this needs to happen in the world, and I am, have a unique opportunity to bring my skills and talents and my background and my history to bear on this. So now I feel that I'm uniquely embedded into the web of life. I have a unique contribution to make. And that gives my life greater meaning than just, I want to get rich quickly.
Yeah, speaking of that personal motivation, what inspires you personally? What's your vision?
Well, my vision is a world of greater, my personal mission and purpose these days is to awaken greater spiritual intelligence in myself and the world. And I think if you look at the world, it's kind of, we live in amazing times, as they say. Humanity, through our cognitive intelligence, our IQ, has achieved remarkable things. We've landed on the moon. We split the atom. We deciphered the genome. Now we have AI that is smarter than many of us, etc. And then we developed EI, emotional intelligence, so we can understand our emotions and label them, etc. But yet, when you look at the world, it looks really problematic. There's skyrocketing mental health challenges, anxiety, depression, addiction, suicide rates. There's political polarization, wars, etc. So something is missing, and as I see it, the key missing piece is the development of our spiritual intelligence that connects us to and benefits us both individually and collectively. So I am passionate about this in leadership, in the domain of leadership, and my research showed that leaders with greater spiritual intelligence lead teams with higher morale, higher commitment, and lower turnover. And other follow-on research using my measure of spiritual intelligence or spiritually intelligent leadership showed that they produce better financial results with their business units. And other research has shown that banks with the level of employee spiritual intelligence is higher than others produce better financial results in terms of return on assets in banks. So this isn't just nice, whatever, woo. It actually pays in terms of the bottom line. So that's in the domain of leadership. And then recently I completed a study with 100 couples and looking at attachment factors and emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence. And I identified 15 questions that have the greatest explanatory power in relational satisfaction among couples that have been together for 4 or more years, more than attachment style, more than emotional intelligence. So I think when people develop these qualities, it pays off in our business, in our work life, and in our intimate relationships, in our family and friends. And when you think about it, the qualities I'm talking about have been celebrated for thousands of years through many wisdom traditions, living a life of purpose and service and trust and gratitude and compassion and forgiveness and integrity and humility and so on. And these qualities are important in our intimate relationships. Want people that are present, that have integrity, that are compassionate, their hearts are open, etc. And that's good in our relationships, and that's good at work. And my clients that I've coached, over 100 CEOs now, and I'll just make a side point here because I want to distinguish what you said early on to emphasize that spiritual intelligence is not tied to any religion or spiritual belief system per se. So among the 100 plus CEOs I've worked with, some were devout practitioners of a particular religion. Some were quote unquote spiritual but not religious. Some were agnostic. Some were devout atheists. But regardless of the belief system, whether they consider them spiritual or not, as they connected with their sense of purpose and their vision and expressed gratitude and developed their presence and connected and became more inner directed, they became more powerful, inspired, and inspiring leaders. And what they then told me is that, when they went home, and it transformed their relationships, how they related to their teenage kids or how they were in their family dinner table. They were more present and more connected at home. So that was the origin of when I was working with CEOs, etc. But then in the last few years, I've been doing a lot more work with couples and bringing this, because I think that's the other domain that people passionately care about, that influences our well-being, is not only do we want to be successful in our entrepreneurial and business life, we want to have successful relationships. And as Freud said, what's important, what's the good life is work and love. But to my satisfaction or delight, those same qualities that make us better leaders can make us better human beings in our families and our relationships.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, as you said, you have defined spiritual intelligence academically. So to break it down for people and make it really easy to understand, if you think of IQ as something that helps us solve problems and EQ as something that helps us navigate emotions, what unique human problem does spiritual intelligence solve?
Well, it connects us to our life force, and it gives our life meaning and purpose, and connects us to the sacred and transcendent dimension of life. So it gives our life deeper meaning and connects us to our essence and our life force energy. And then through that, when we connect to our life force energy and our essence, through that, we actually connect to others, because my life force essence and yours are the same. So when I'm connected at that place within myself, I'm naturally connected to other human beings and ultimately all of life. So a key part of spiritual intelligence is this capacity for interconnection, and what I call ultra connection, which would be the connection to the sacred and transcendent dimensions of life. So life becomes more meaningful, more purposeful. Our hearts are more open. There's more love, that we can receive and share. So we live in love and radiate joy, and that's really
sounds good to me.
Who doesn't want to live in love and radiate joy? But I think the key thing is, like, it's not being spiritually intelligent is not the same as being spiritual, much like being emotionally intelligent is not the same as being emotional. If I said, Claudia, do you know some people in your life that are emotional? You might think of some people, and that's not necessarily the best compliment. They might be prone to drama and get teary at every puppy commercial on TV. But someone who's emotionally intelligent means they can draw on emotional resources and information to help manage their emotions and in themselves and others. Similarly, spiritual intelligence is not about being spiritual in terms of belief system. You can have a spiritual belief. You believe in higher power. You believe in, immortality of the soul. That's a belief. You can also have a spiritual experience. You go to church on Sunday, you pray, you feel connected to, the divine, to Jesus, to God, to Muhammad, to Moses, whatever it is. Or you can meditate and you enter a state of samadhi and you feel your ego soften and dissolve. Those are all nice and important spiritual experiences. But spiritual intelligence, when I'm in a team meeting, how driven am I by my ego and trying to show myself right rather than doing what's right? When I'm in relationship with my partner and we get into an argument and I'm interested in proving myself right, that they're wrong. So people can be quote unquote spiritual on Sunday at church, and then get into a meeting with a loved one or at work, and their egos are all hooked in. They don't express gratitude and are disconnected from their compassionate heart, or and so on. So my point is, you don't have to be quote unquote spiritual in terms of your belief system, but you can embody these qualities. So you could be spiritually intelligent even if you don't think of yourself as spiritual. Just like you could be emotionally intelligent even if someone is not quote unquote emotional.
That's a very interesting distinction. And thank you so much for sharing. Now, do you have any tips for how people can develop their spiritual intelligence? So how can we all get better to live in joy and radiance?
Okay. Yeah. Well, so spiritual intelligence is a multifaceted construct. That, in my research, I interviewed 71 teachers and leaders across all the world's wisdom traditions. And regardless of their theology, cosmology, metaphysics, belief system, they shared, 22 common qualities. And I mentioned some of them, like gratitude, purpose, trust, compassion, forgiveness, humility, etc. So each of those is a unique capacity part of spiritual intelligence. Like even in IQ, we say, oh, someone has IQ. Well, it's IQ, we give someone a number, but it consists of many kinds of intelligence. We have verbal comprehension, verbal composition. We have spatial reasoning, mathematical, logical reasoning, memory, processing speed, etc. So with spiritual intelligence, we have these qualities. And like our body, we have many muscles. And if you want to be fit, and say, okay, I want to become physically strong, and you do resistance strength training, you can't develop all your muscles at once. You choose one muscle group and you work on it. But as you work on it, it really supports all of them. So, with spiritual intelligence, there are these 22 qualities. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do them all at once. So you start with one, you pick one, you set an intention. And I think a good one to start for many people is the practice of gratitude. And then like every day when I wake up, I'm thinking of what I'm grateful for, that I'm looking forward to today. At the end of the day, what happened today that I'm grateful for. And I look for even moments of difficulty and what was the lesson in it, etc. And then I start sharing that gratitude during my day and appreciating people as I go through my day. So today I'll be thinking in my gratitude practice, I'm grateful for Claudia and this opportunity to be on the Wired for Success podcast. So, And then I can express that to you. And, I could see it has an effect on you. So as we share our gratitude, it connects us to other people and then brings more lighthearted joy and connection. So that's gratitude. Another one we could then focus on is our purpose. And so we ask ourselves, what are unique talents and gifts that life has given us? And what are the ways we can use them to contribute? And each of us is born with a different set of talents that are naturally effective, that we're good at. And when we apply those talents, we're naturally going to have a sense of mastery because we are good at it, and we have that mastery. We feel good about ourselves. It feels good to be in our zone of competence, and then we use it to contribute to others. So then we feel a sense of belonging. So we ask ourselves, what is my gifts? What are my talents? And how can I use them to contribute? And then from there, we find our purpose. And our purpose can change over the lifetime. Our purpose in our teens is different than our purpose in our 20s and 30s, and is different. Oftentimes, so we can periodically reassess, okay, how am I living my purpose? And is this feeling like the best way I want to actualize myself in this current stage of life? So we find we express more gratitude. We connect with our purpose. So, each of these qualities, you go through them, and as you cultivate them, it opens us up, and we can express more and more of these qualities more and more consistently. So it's not a once and done type of thing. Okay, I'm going to be spiritually intelligent. I work on it. I read Yosi's book, and that's it. And I wish I could be like that, but it's not. I mean, it's a lifelong journey. How do you get healthy? You don't just read a book about physical fitness, or you have to eat healthy, you have to exercise, whatever it is, and you keep doing it. And otherwise, but that's the joy and the adventure and the growth of it. But at some point we find that point of light, that spark of life force in us, and when we're connected to it, whatever it is, that intention, that desire, even it's a desire to be an entrepreneur, to build a business. Okay, so we can say, okay, I'm really motivated to build this business. I have this vision, it's really calling me forward. And then we can connect into that energy, that pull, that vision is calling on us, and we feel something somewhere in our body. Oftentimes it's around our chest and our heart, and we feel that energy, that pull, that push, whatever it is. And then we go into that, and we'll see what we find there. But oftentimes we find some kind of a flame or a point of light that is coming from within us, that's kind of wanting to manifest and radiate out through us. And when we're connected to that point of light and that flame, that inner flame, it could be in our belly sometimes, then we feel our life force, and then it's joyful, and we feel powerful, and we feel radiant. So I don't know, those are just some quick tricks, but it's a lifelong journey.
And I love that you emphasize sharing our gifts and taking action, because I often feel that watching people's actions reveals so much more about their deepest values than their words, because actions always speak louder than words, right?
Yeah, and that's so important in leadership. I mean, people watch what their leaders do. Do they walk the talk? And that's the quality of integrity. And all the research, mine and others, one of the top qualities that people look for in their leaders is integrity. We have to trust people in order to follow them. And if we feel our leaders are out of integrity, it's gonna disconnect us and demotivate us. So yeah, that's super important.
Speaking of actions, which daily actions keep you happy, healthy, and productive?
Boy,
Lots.
yeah, I have lots, which is partly why it was more challenging to find a time because my mornings are dedicated to, my well-being and care. So I live by the ocean. I'm blessed, and so every day I am down on the beach, walking briskly and doing some uh, energetic practices like Tai Chi and yoga, and I'm watching the birds and the pelicans as they dive, and it just gives me a sense of beauty. The sun is rising, and there's just an immense amount of beauty. I make a point of spending time in nature and hiking and doing forest bathing every weekend. I meditate. I do physical exercise. So I spend quite a bit of time invested in my well-being, because my effectiveness is not just how many more hours I can work, but the quality and the ideas that I'm doing. And likewise, as a leader, as a founder, as a CEO, it's not just how many hours. People looking for inspiration, and then if the CEO or the entrepreneurs come into the office and they're dragging, and they're burned out, they're worried, people are going to wonder what's going on. Are we having problems? Is the company having financial difficulties, etc.? So some entrepreneurs come in and kind of quote unquote fake it, like, no, I got to put on the good face and I'm successful and then this and that. And we could put on that persona to some extent and fake it, so to speak, for a while. But then there's a little bit of this imposter syndrome. We're trying to project this image of lightheartedness and energy, but really inside we're depleted. And the more we're faking it, and there's this incongruence between how we feel inside and what we're putting out, the more divided we are, the more it feels like we're living a lie, and that will burn us out in our essence. So I think it's much better to actually invest in our energy, in our well-being, in our inspiration, so that it's all authentic. And then it's just naturally that aliveness, that vibrancy, that enthusiasm just coming. We're not faking it. We're not having to drink 5 cups of coffee to get pumped up, so to speak, before we go into a meeting. We're just naturally enthusiastic by what we're doing, and that will show.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So last but not least, where can people find you online if they would like to connect or work with you?
Yeah, thank you. So they can go to my website if they can remember how to spell my name, yosiamram.net. Or you can go to, I have a website on this spiritually intelligent relationships, si-relationship.com. Or if you're interested in the leadership side, that's si-leadership.com. And so I work both with leaders and entrepreneurs and CEOs and coaching, and then I work with couples. So yeah, and then there's my book, which is available wherever you can buy books online, Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, and you can get to me through that. So I hope that's enough ways.
I bet it is. Wonderful. Yosi, thank you so much for sharing all your tips and insights and your wisdom with us today. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank you, Claudia. It's been fun and delightful.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.yosi-amram.net. www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.
This is not a commercial for The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe, the award-winning podcast now entering its 10th year and available wherever podcasts are listened to. No, this is a commercial for Mike Rowe's foundation, which has just set aside $10 million to help train the next generation of skilled workers. That money is available right now at microworks.org. It's waiting for anyone who wants to learn a skill that doesn't require a 4-year degree. Electricians, plumbers, linemen, welders, shipbuilders, HVAC techs. America is desperate for men and women with skills they don't teach in universities. And the MicroWorks Foundation is committed to helping train America's workforce for hundreds of thousands of AI-proof 6-figure jobs just waiting to be filled. Apply today for a work ethic scholarship at microworks.org or support our efforts with a donation of any size. We're closing America's skills gap one job at a time, and we could use your help at microworks.org, MIKEROWE works.org.